Welcome to Raw Confessions, the podcast where we unravel the tangled, pulsing threads of the human heart, exposing truths we hide even from ourselves. Today I'm sitting down with a woman we'll call Mia, whose story is a smoldering inferno of passion, secrecy, and shattering regret. Mia, thank you for being here, for bearing your soul in a way most of us can only imagine. Let's start at the root. What was it about your ex, Jake, that kept him burning in your mind even after you vowed to love another man forever?
God, this feels like stepping naked into a spotlight. Jake was chaos wrapped in velvet, a storm you wanted to get lost in. We were together for 3 years before I met Ethan, my husband. Jake had this intensity, dark hooded eyes that could strip you bare, a voice like smoke and whiskey, low and rough, like he was whispering secrets meant only for you. His touch, his hands, callous from playing guitar, knew every curve of me, like they'd mapped me in another life. We broke up because he was too wild, always chasing the next thrill. Music gigs, late nights, reckless dreams. But even after I walked away, he haunted me. At night, when Ethan was asleep, his steady breathing filling our quiet bedroom, I'd close my eyes and see Jake's lips, feel his breath hot against my neck, hear him murmur my name like a prayer. Ethan was my safe harbor, everything warm and dependable, but Jake, he was a fire I couldn't extinguish, no matter how hard I tried.
That's so vivid, Mia. You paint Jake like a force of nature, pulling you despite yourself. Let's go to that first moment when this affair ignited. How did you cross that line with him after you were married?
It was 8 months into my marriage, maybe 9. Ethan was always at the office, climbing the corporate ladder, building our future, he'd say. But I was fading. I felt like a ghost in my own life, like I was just Ethan's wife, not Mia anymore. One night I couldn't stand it, the quiet, the routine. I went to this dive bar downtown, the Rusty Anchor, just to feel something. The place smelled of stale beer and old wood, neon lights flickering over sticky tables. And there he was. Jake, leaning against the bar, that worn leather jacket hugging his shoulders, that crooked smirk that used to unravel me. He saw me and his eyes lit up, like I was the only person in the room. We started talking, catching up, old memories, bad breakups, the way we used to be. The air between us was electric, like a storm about to break. After a few whiskeys, his fingers brushed mine, just a graze, but it set my skin on fire. Right. I felt my pulse in my throat, my chest, everywhere. We left the bar, stumbled into his car, parked in some dark alley behind a shuttered warehouse. His lips were on mine, hungry, desperate, like he'd been starving for me. His hands slid under my shirt, rough and sure, and I didn't stop him. We drove to his apartment, a cramped loft with exposed brick and a mattress on the floor. The city lights bled through the window, casting shadows as we tore into each other. It was fast, reckless, like diving into a wave. His mouth, his hands, the way he moved. It was like my body remembered him before my mind could catch up. I surrendered completely, and it felt like coming alive.
That's electric, Mia. You can feel the heat, the inevitability of that moment, like you were caught in a current. Let's talk about how you kept this hidden from Ethan. What was it like living with that secret, balancing two worlds?
It was like walking a tightrope over a pit of flames. I'd come home to Ethan, my skin still tingling from Jake, his scent, sandalwood, smoke, something primal, clinging to my clothes, my hair, my soul. I'd shower before Ethan could get close, scrubbing away the evidence, blaming my late nights on work deadlines, client dinners, or girls' nights out. I got so good at lying, it scared me. I'd hide my phone, delete texts, but every message from Jake was like a shot of adrenaline straight to my veins. "Meet me at 7, he'd text, and my heart would race, my fingers trembling as I typed back, "Where?" I'd meet him in stolen moments, lunch breaks in his car, late evenings at his loft, hotel rooms with dim lights and cheap creaking beds. Every time, I told myself it was just physical, a release I could control. But it wasn't. With Jake, I felt alive, seen, like I was the center of his universe. He'd look at me, really look his eyes, tracing every inch of me, and I'd feel desired in a way Ethan couldn't match. But with Ethan, I was playing a part, cooking dinner, laughing at his stories, kissing him goodnight while my mind was still in Jake's bed. I loved Ethan. I swear I did. But Jake was an addiction, and I was drowning in him.
That's so raw, Mia. The way you were torn between love and desire, duty and hunger. Let's dive into how this affair evolved. Can you share specific moments that defined its progression? Times that stand out in your memory?
It stayed intense, but it deepened, like a cut that keeps bleeding. At first, it was all heat. Quick, breathless encounters, like that first night at his loft. One time, about a month in, we met at a motel off the highway, the Starlight Inn, with its buzzing neon sign and curtains that smelled like old cigarettes. The room was dark, just a single lamp casting a warm amber glow. Jake pulled me close, his hands rough, his mouth urgent, and we didn't even make it to the bed. It was against the wall, my legs wrapped around him, his breath hot against my ear, whispering my name like a mantra. The paint was peeling, the air thick with the hum of the AC, but all I felt was him, his hands gripping my hips, his lips trailing fire down my neck. It was raw, desperate, like we were trying to erase the years apart. Another time, maybe 2 months later, we met during a thunderstorm. Ethan was out of town, and I drove to. Jake's loft, the rain pounding my windshield, blurring the city into streaks of light. His place was a mess. Guitar strings scattered, empty beer bottles on the counter. But it felt like home. We didn't rush that night. He lit a candle, the flame flickering as the storm raged outside. We lay on his mattress, naked, his fingers tracing my spine as he told me about his music, his dreams of playing bigger venues, how he regretted letting me go. I told him things too, how I felt invisible with Ethan, how his love was steady but suffocating, how I didn't know who I was anymore. We made love slowly, the rain a drumbeat against the windows, his hands gentle but sure, like he was memorizing me all over again. It felt like we were building something real, and that scared me more than the quick, reckless nights. Then there was this one night at a rooftop bar, maybe 6 months in. We were reckless, sitting in a dark corner, his hand on my thigh under the table, his eyes locked on mine like no one else existed. The city sparkled below, all lights and noise, But we were in our own world. He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear, whispering things that made my skin flush. We left early, ended up in his car, parked in some empty lot, the windows fogging as we lost ourselves in each other. But the guilt was always there, like a shadow. I'd seen my wedding ring glinting in the candlelight, the dashboard glow, and it was like a knife twisting in my chest. I started hating myself, but I couldn't stop. Jake was the only thing keeping me alive, or so it felt.
Those moments are so vivid, Mia. The motel, the thunderstorm, the rooftop bar. Each one feels like a different shade of desire, of danger. Were there other encounters that pushed the boundaries, maybe took you to new emotional or physical places?
Yeah, there were. One night, about 9 months in, we took a risk that still makes my heart race thinking about it. Ethan was at a conference, and Jake convinced me to meet him at this abandoned warehouse where his band sometimes practiced. It was late, the place dark and echoing, with broken windows letting in slivers of moonlight. Jake had a blanket spread out on the concrete floor, a bottle of cheap wine, and his guitar. He played for me, soft and low, his voice wrapping around me like a spell. We didn't care about the dust, the cold. He pulled me onto the blanket, his hands slow, deliberate, like he was savoring every second. It was different that night, intimate, almost sacred, like we were the only two people in the world. But as we lay there after, the silence heavy, I felt the weight of what I was doing. I was risking everything for these moments, and they were never enough. Another time, met at a hotel downtown, fancier than our usual spots. Jake had gotten a gig that paid well, and he wanted to treat me, he said. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawling below like a glittering promise. We stood by the window, his arms around me from behind, his lips on my neck as we watched the lights. It was slow, sensual, like we had all the time in the world. He undressed me piece by piece, his fingers lingering, his eyes drinking me in. But even then, I couldn't fully lose myself. I kept thinking about Ethan, about the lies piling up, about how this couldn't last. Those moments with Jake, they were everything and nothing all at once.
You paint such a vivid picture, Mia. The way these encounters were both intoxicating and torturous. How did you navigate the emotional toll of living this double life? Were there moments when the secrecy nearly unraveled?
The emotional toll was crushing. Every time I left Jake, I'd feel this high, like I was floating, but by the time I got home, it was like crashing into a wall. I'd look at Ethan, sleeping so peacefully, his arm flung across the bed, and I'd feel like a monster. There were so many close calls. Once, Ethan came home early from a trip and I was still at Jake's, my clothes scattered across his floor. My phone was blowing up with Ethan's texts, "Where are you?" And I was shaking, fumbling to get dressed, telling Jake I had to go. I made up some story about a friend's emergency, but my voice cracked, and Ethan's eyes were so suspicious when I got home. Another time, Jake called while Ethan and I were watching a movie. I let it go to voicemail, but Ethan asked, "Who's that?" I lied, said it was a coworker, but my hands were trembling so bad I spilled my wine. The worst was when Ethan found a hotel receipt in my purse. $8.99 for a room at the Starlight Inn. My heart stopped. I said it was from a work conference, that I'd forgotten to expense it. But his eyes, they were searching, like he knew I was lying but didn't want to believe it. I started losing sleep, barely eating, My hair was falling out from the stress. I was unraveling, but Jake was like a drug, and I kept going back for another hit.
That's harrowing, Mia. The constant fear, the lies, piling up like a house of cards. Let's explore what kept you going back to Jake, despite the toll. What was it about those moments that felt so essential?
It was like Jake was the only place I could breathe. With Ethan, I was playing a role. The good wife, the supportive partner, always smiling, always there. But with Jake, I was me. Or at least the me I wanted to be. Wild, free, desired. He saw me in a way Ethan didn't, or maybe couldn't. Every time we were together, it was like he was pulling me out of a fog. Like that night at the warehouse, with his guitar in the moonlight, or the hotel with the city lights. He made me feel alive, like I was more than just someone's wife. But it wasn't just the physical. It was the way he listened, the way he'd ask about my dreams, my fears, things Ethan and I had stopped talking about. I think I was chasing that feeling of being seen, of mattering, even if it was built on lies. But every time I left him, the guilt would hit harder, like a wave crashing over me. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop needing him.
It's so profound, Mia, the way Jake filled a void even as he created new ones. How long did this go on, and what finally made you end it?
It lasted 13 months, maybe 14. A year of stolen moments, of living for the next time I could feel Jake's hands on me, his breath against my skin. We'd meet anywhere, his loft, motels, that warehouse, even my car once, in a rain-soaked parking lot, windows fogged, our bodies pressed together in the dark. It sounds like a movie, but it was desperate, messy, raw. Ethan started noticing things. My distance, my excuses, the way I'd flinch when he touched me. He never accused me, but his eyes were so sad, like he was losing me and didn't know why. One night, Jake and I were lying in his bed, his fingers tangled in my hair, the city lights painting stripes across his ceiling. He looked at me, his eyes soft but serious, and said, "Leave him, Mia. Come back to me. We can start over. Do it right this time." It was like a cold shock, like waking up from a fever dream. I saw my life splitting in two. Ethan, our home, our promises, versus Jake, this wild, consuming thing that would burn out in a blaze. I realized I was torching everything I'd built for a feeling that couldn't last. I told Jake it was over, right there, my voice shaking but firm. He begged me to stay, his hands gripping mine, his eyes desperate. But I pulled away, got dressed, and left. I blocked his number, deleted every trace of him, and swore I'd never look back. But it wasn't a clean break. It never is.
That moment of clarity, it's like a lightning bolt through the fog. What was it like after you ended it? How did you carry that weight in the aftermath?
The aftermath was brutal, like waking up in the wreckage of a storm. For months, I was a ghost in my own life. I'd wake up next to Ethan, his arm heavy across my waist, and the guilt would choke me. I'd see Jake's face in my dreams, his eyes, his smirk, the way he'd pull me close, and I'd wake up gasping, hating myself for missing him. I threw myself into being the perfect wife, cooking elaborate dinners, planning date nights, surprising Ethan with tickets to his favorite band. But it was like trying to fill a hole with sand. The guilt was a constant weight, like a stone in my chest. I started having panic attacks, waking up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, convinced Ethan would find out. I'd stand in the shower, letting the water burn my skin, trying to wash away what I'd done. About a year after I ended it, I couldn't carry it anymore. I had to tell Ethan. I sat him down one Sunday morning, the kitchen smelling of coffee and toast, and I poured it all out, every lie, every meeting, every moment I betrayed him. His face? God, it was like I'd taken a sledgehammer to his heart. He didn't yell, didn't leave. He just cried, silent tears streaming down his face. That was worse than any screaming match. He said he wanted to try to fix us, but I could see I'd broken something fundamental in him.
That's devastating, Mia. The courage it took to confess and the pain it caused, both of you. Let's talk about the rebuilding process. You mentioned therapy. Can you walk us through what that was like? Maybe share specific moments that stood out?
Therapy was like walking into a fire you knew you deserved to burn in. We started a week after I confessed with Dr. Larson, this calm, no-nonsense woman who didn't let us hide. Our first session was raw. I can still see it. Her office, all soft blues and warm wood, a box of tissues on the table. Ethan sat across from me, his hands clenched, his eyes red from crying. Dr. Larson asked us to start by saying what we wanted from this. Ethan went first. Ethan, flashback voiceover. I want to understand why. I thought we were happy, Mia. I thought I was enough. I don't know if I can trust you again, but I love you, and I want to try. But it hurts so damn much. Hearing him say that broke me all over again. I told him I loved him, that I hated myself for what I did, that I didn't know why I let it happen. Dr. Larson pushed me to dig deeper, to stop hiding behind, I don't know. She said, Mia, the trail doesn't happen in a vacuum. What were you running from? That question gutted me. I realized I'd felt invisible, like Ethan's love was a blanket, warm but smothering. Jake saw me, wanted me, in a way that made me feel alive again. We spent months unpacking that. Ethan's long hours, my silence, the way we'd stopped really talking. One session, maybe 6 months in, Ethan finally let his anger out. Ethan, flashback, voiceover. I keep seeing it, Mia. You with him. Every time you're late, every time you check your phone, I wonder if it's happening again. I hate that you made me this person, this paranoid shadow of myself. I don't know how to stop seeing it. I just sat there, crying because he was right. I'd done that to him. Dr. Larson helped us build new habits. Total transparency. No secrets. We'd leave our phones unlocked, share passwords, check in during the day. It felt like surveillance at first, but it was the only way to rebuild trust. Another session, maybe a year in, we had a breakthrough. Flashback, voiceover. Mia, Ethan, let's try something. I want you each to say one thing you need from the other to feel safe again. Ethan, you first. Flashback, voiceover. I need you to be honest, Mia. Even if it hurts. No more hiding. No more half-truths. I need to know you're all in. I told him I needed him to talk to me. Really talk like we used to. I needed to feel like I was more than just his wife. That I was Mia. Someone he saw, not just someone he came home to. That session shifted something. We started small rituals. Morning coffee together, no phones at dinner, weekly hikes where we'd talk about everything, from our fears to our dreams. It's been 4 years, and we're still together, but there's a crack in the foundation. Every fight, every quiet moment, I wonder if he's picturing Jake. But we're fighting for it. And that's something.
That's so powerful, Mia. The rawness of those therapy moments, the slow climb back to trust. Let's explore another angle. Were there moments during the affair where you tried to stop? Or did you ever confront Jake about what you were doing?
I tried to stop. God, I tried. There were nights I'd swear to myself, this is the last time. But then Jake would text, and I'd be right back in his orbit. One time, maybe 10 months in, I confronted him. We were at his loft after another reckless night. I was sitting on his couch, pulling my boots on, and I just snapped. I asked him, "What are we doing, Jake? I'm married. This is destroying me." He looked at me, his eyes soft, and said, "I don't care if you're married. I love you, Mia. I always have." It was the first time he said it, and it hit me like a punch. I wanted to believe him, but I knew it was a fantasy. I told him we had to stop, that I couldn't keep doing this to Ethan, to myself. He grabbed my hand, begged me not to go, said we could figure it out. I left anyway, but 2 days later I was back in his bed. That's what addiction does. It lies to you, tells you whatever does, or in control when you're not.
That's such a raw moment, Mia. The way love and addiction blurred together. Let's talk about the long-term impact. How has this affair shaped your life, your identity, years down the line?
It's been 4 years since I confessed. 5 since I last saw Jake. The ripples are still there, like waves that never quite settle. Ethan and I have built something new memories, new trust, but it's fragile, like glass pieced back together. We laugh more now, take trips, hold hands. But there's a shadow. Therapy gave us tools, but it also changed me. I used to be so sure of who I was, loyal, honest, good. Now I question everything. I'm more guarded, less reckless. But I miss the woman who felt free, who could love without fear of breaking something. Jake's not the ghost. It's the version of me I became with him, the one who lied, who betrayed, who let desire drown out her values. I have worked hard to rebuild myself, journaling every day, therapy twice a month, even meditation, which I used to laugh at. I'm trying to be someone I can respect again, but it's a slow climb. I've learned I'm human, flawed, capable of falling hard. But I've also learned I can get back up, even if it takes years.
That's profound, Mia. The way this has reshaped your marriage, your soul, your entire sense of self. Let's reflect on the bigger picture. Did societal pressures or expectations play a role in this and how you navigated the affair or its aftermath?
Yeah, they did. Society tells you marriage is supposed to be everything. Your safety, your passion, your forever. Ethan was the good guy, the one you're supposed to choose, stable, kind, reliable. But there's this other narrative, especially for women, that we're supposed to have it all. Fire, freedom, desire. Jake was that fire. The thing you're told to chase in movies, songs, those late-night X-posts about living your truth. I felt like I was failing as a wife because I wasn't fully satisfied. Like I was supposed to be this perfect, content woman who didn't crave more. And after the affair, the shame was worse because of that. Society judges women harder for cheating, like we're betraying some sacred role. Therapy helped me see that those expectations are bullshit. I wasn't failing because I wanted more. I failed because I didn't talk to Ethan, didn't fight for what I needed within our marriage. I'm still unlearning those pressures, trying to define myself outside of what I am supposed to be.
That's such a sharp insight, Mia. How those external narratives can trap us, push us toward choices we might not otherwise make. One final question. If you could go back to that first night at the Rusty Anchor, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
God, that's hard. I'd like to say I'd walk away. Never let Jake's hand touch mine. Never step into that car. But part of me knows I was so lost, so hungry for something more. I might have fallen anyway. What I'd do differently is talk to Ethan sooner, before Jake, before the lies. I'd tell him I was fading, that I needed more than routine, that I needed him to see me. And if I still fell, I'd confess sooner, not let the lies fester for a year. Pain is better than poison. I'd tell that Mia to be brave, to choose herself over the fire.
Mia, your courage is breathtaking. Thank you for sharing this searing, vulnerable story with us. It's a mirror to our own flaws, our desires, our capacity to rebuild. To our listeners, if Mia's confession stirred something in you, share your thoughts. This has been Raw Confessions. Until next time, keep it real, keep it raw.